Hello, it's PJ. Welcome to the Poverty Franchise Podcast. This is week 8 of the NFL Roundup, and my God, it is a crazy day. I think this is the NFL trade deadline. I did not initially anticipate it to be such a crazy day. It's kind of why I did the Roquan Smith video more as a short, because the NFL trade deadline is usually a very quiet affair where you see, like, kind of edge starters, kind of your disgruntled veteran gets moved for like a 6th or 7th round pick. Mid-season trades rarely, if ever, really move the needle in the NFL. They can enhance your team, sure, like we saw with Von Miller with the Rams last year. Apologies, and but it's not like the NBA trade deadline. Except this year, it kind of is because it's going insane right now. Also, we're staying hydrated. Drink water, especially if you drink a lot of soda. Cough, cough, like me. But that aside, big names move. Ever since the Roquan deal happened, it just kind of kicked it in the high gear. He's going to go down from the most recent. The most recent on the list right now, Calvin Ridley. He's out for the year with a gambling suspension from the Falcons. He gets traded to the Jags for 2024 fifth rounder, or a 2023 fifth rounder, and a 2024 fourth rounder at the moment. As Adam Schefter did put it, it's a third rounder if he's on the roster past a certain date, and it's a second rounder if he ever gets his contract extended to the Falcons. So the Falcons, before the gambling suspension, there were talks of a first rounder being dealt for Calvin Ridley. He is that good. I think he was worth it before that suspension. Nevertheless, getting anything for him is good business on the Falcons end, and it's good for the Jags too because he's probably not going to get top wide receiver money even if he does ball out next year because of his gambling suspension. So they can pair him next to Christian Kirk and Travis Etienne in the run game. And it's a good lineup. Just thinking for the future. Moving on, Bradley Chubb from the Broncos edge rusher who was opposite Von Miller for a couple of those years gets traded to the Dolphins for Chase Edmonds, a 2023 first rounder and a 2024 fourth rounder. It's good for the Broncos in the future. I think this year is kind of a wash. You're going to have to fire Nathaniel Hackett and kind of muster out the last few years of Russell Wilson's good years as you can. I think with that first round pick, you're probably going to have to get some line help for him. I don't think receiver is necessarily an issue because you have Tim Patrick will be coming back next year. You have the rookie tight end. Oh my God, I keep forgetting his name. Who I'm really liking. He had a real good game against the Jags. We'll get into that in the roundup. Latavius Murray's probably getting cut with his old ass. Cortland Sutton, thank you, PJ. You remembered who his name was. Jerry Jeudy, who looked like he's not going to get cut or traded this year. Greg Dulcich. You don't really need skill position guys like that. Greg Dulcich is the tight end. You don't really need skill position guys like that. What they could use is off-ball, weak side linebacker, or defensive help as well. They could use that. But yeah, good business by the Broncos as well. Good for the Dolphins. Their defense is probably the only thing that you could say is kind of weak about the team. It's definitely an average looking defense, so it is what it is on that end. So it helps them out. And Chase Edmonds goes there again. Latavius Murray's trying to get pushed out the lineup. It should help the Broncos' fledgling run game because it shouldn't be fledgling. They have good players on it, like at least good players on paper. I mean, you got guys like Melvin Gordon, Latavius Murray, Javonte Williams. They just ain't doing it this year. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how Chase Edmonds does there. I like Chase Edmonds. He's a good player, so I hope he doesn't get immediately cut. The Steelers, for a future late draft pick swap, get William Jackson III, who the Commanders did just sign to an extension. The Steelers' defense has been getting cooked since T.J. Watt got hurt. They need the help. They got to salvage this season because they don't really have much prospects for rebuilding. I mean, they are kind of rebuilding the offense, but that helps him out. He's locked up long term. Should help him in the future. The Steelers do more. They obtained the Bears' second-round pick, not the second-round pick they got from the Ravens yesterday for Chase Claypool. He still has a year and a half left on this deal, so that's good. For the Bears, he immediately is the best receiver on the team by talent. It's just straight up, that's just easy to say. He's a number one receiver. He's 6'4". He's got great size, jump ball receiver in the end zone. Should open up the game a bit more for Darnell Mooney, for Equanimeous St. Brown as well, who's been having a pretty half-decent year for all things considered. Byron Pringle should be coming back soon, and for Cole Kmet. It should help everyone's games. It's to be seen if the Bears will move David Montgomery. There's still 30 minutes left in the deadline. I do not want to end this episode and someone gets fucking traded. That'll be very devastating. So, yeah. The most surprising deal of the day is the Lions trading TJ Hawkinson to the Vikings. They get a second rounder next year and a third rounder the year after that. I don't like it. I understand the logic. It's good business from the Vikings because TJ Hawkinson was a first-round tight end. He's Pro Bowl level tight end, probably top 5 tight end in the league, right? Number 5, if not 5, he's 6. They lost Irv Smith Jr., a decent tight end for 8 to 10 weeks. If they continue on and they're gonna win, they're probably gonna win the division as it looks right now. TJ Hawkinson and then Irv Smith coming back, you have 2 solid targets for your 2 tight end sets who can both block and they can both work the receiving game, and it can be mismatch hell out there when he's back for the playoffs. I forgot to mention that Kadarius Toney got traded to the Chiefs. I'm glad he's out of that situation in New York. It just wasn't working. I hope for him. I hope it works out. It should. If you can't work with Patrick Mahomes, you're not an NFL wide receiver. And that is just the truth of it. But yeah, the trade deadline.
All right, trade deadline, 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Sorry about that. Trade deadline does end at 4 Eastern today, so I don't know if I'll get the episode that long. If anything else does happen, I'll post it as a short and just discuss it on its own in a vacuum. The Broncos just traded for Jacob Martin from the New York Jets. I'm actually unfamiliar with him, to be honest. But it helps them in the immediate pass rush game because they're still trying to contend. Outside linebacker, he's played 8 games. He's not played many of the snaps, but he's pretty young. He's out of Temple. He's only 26 years old. He's only played in 38% of the snaps as his highest in a game for the Jets this year. He has 1.5 sacks and 3 tackles on the season and a forced fumble. Hey, if you're gonna, is it worth a 4th rounder for a flyer? Absolutely, take the chance. Got really nothing to fucking lose. But as the most recent trade, we'll see if any more pop up while I'm talking about the recap of the week. As we do, we'll just start with the scores per usual. The Ravens best the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Thursday, hitting another low note in Tom Brady's divorce saga. We'll talk about the Buccaneers later. Again, I'll probably be rehashing the same points I've said every week about the Buccaneers. Ravens beat them 27-22. Broncos win in London in the morning, here local time against the Jags, 21-17. Jags just came out kind of flat offensively, even though Travis Etienne had a big 156 rushing yard game. The defense could not hold the anemic Broncos offense. The Falcons beat the Panthers in a stunner. P.J. Walker threw a Hail Mary. DJ Moore removed his helmet in the field of play. Is it a penalty? Should it be a penalty? In that moment, I think the ref should have just kind of read the room. But also, it's responsible for DJ Moore. As Steve Wilkes said, you can't do that. And it did end up costing them the game because they missed the extra point and go to OT, then missed an OT field goal, and then the Falcons hit the Young Wei Koo hits the game-winning field goal. There is promise there in that I'm glad they're not. DJ Moore could very well still be traded in these next 30 minutes. I don't think it will happen. But TJ Walker had a great game. They took advantage of the Falcons not having A.J. Terrell. As you see, their whole pass defense kind of fell apart. But hey, Falcons hold the division. We'll get into the divisions more later as well. The Cowboys put a goddamn drubbing on the Bears, 49-29, and I'm just happy the offense is playing better. I'm going to be honest. Our defense is going to be ass this year because we just traded away Robert Quinn and then the second best defensive player this year, because I guess Jaquan Brisker, you can argue, is the best player on defense right now. Him, Jalen Johnson, or Eddie Jackson. But 49-29, I'm just happy the offense is scoring points. The Dolphins beat the Lions 31-27. Again, that's why you need Tua on the team. Tua changes this team, and then with some additions to the defense, that should help. The Lions' offense has not come back to the highs that they started the season out as, and their defense is just as low as it started. So, Lions are punting this year. Bryce Young, Godspeed, my man. You're going to Detroit. Minnesota Vikings beat the Cardinals 34-26. Cliff Kingsbury needs to get fired, along with the next person on the list with the Saints-Raiders game. The Vikings are so close to being tied with the Lions for the bottom of the division or top of the division. So again, they had to make that move that'll put them over. The Cardinals' offense looks good. It's just that their defense just did not hold up that game. The Saints blanked the Raiders 24-0. Even with all as good as the skill players are, I know Darren Waller's out. Yeah, Josh McDaniels is not a good coach. He just isn't a good fucking coach. And the Raiders have lost what I thought was going to be held division, but it is no longer held division. But yeah, yeah, y'all fucked. Third worst head coach in the league, by the way. Kingsbury, then Hackett is number 1. Patriots beat the Jets 22-17. Zach Wilson, he passed for a lot of yards. Garrett Wilson caught a lot of balls, but New England was coming back after losing to the Bears the week after. Mac Jones looks okay. He's still looking. He's not like fully healthy. He kind of regressed this year, but I'm gonna just chalk it up to injury. The Eagles beat the Steelers, and then also coaching being more familiar. The Eagles beat the Steelers to remain the only undefeated team. They still look amazing. A.J. Brown looks unstoppable. There's not much else to really be said that other than if the Phillies win the World Series and the Eagles win the Super Bowl, Philadelphia will not exist. The Titans beat the Texans in a close one. Oh god damn it, Malik Willis' first start of his career. It was a rough go of it. He did not do much, but they won the game because Derrick Henry rushed for 200 yards. And if Derrick Henry runs for over 100 yards, usually the Titans win the football game. So the fact that he had to rush for 219 is kind of fucking insane. But he got the job done against a weaker Texans squad, and they get the win. Doesn't matter how dirty it is, a W is a W. The Commanders are on a 3-game winning streak now. Holy shit, they beat the Colts in Sam Ehlinger's first start of the year. The Colts fired their offensive coordinator. I think that's a scapegoat. I just don't think their offense is that good. They don't really have the personnel. You don't really have the players. You don't have the quarterback play. You have Jonathan Taylor. You have a great running back. You don't really have the receivers that you need. You don't have the quarterback play with Matt Ryan being shut down for the year. Michael Pittman's good, but outside of that, you have a couple more middling guys. Like Paris Campbell's another good receiver, but again, only one true number 1 guy there. The line was looking not too great this year as well. And Jonathan Taylor really hasn't been going that great. I mean, he's been hurt. He's been banged up this year. The Niners take care of the Rams. Christian McCaffrey there. He got the touchdown hat trick, first one since LaDainian Tomlinson, receiving touchdown, rushing touchdown, passing touchdown. Good for the 49ers getting McCaffrey. I think that's also a trade I didn't talk about. If that I didn't, I'm fucking stupid. I'm sorry. That's good for them. They need the I think the dynamic running back works in that system. Deebo Samuel can finally go back to being a receiver. The Giants' winning ways were finally put down by the Seahawks, who were surprisingly good this year. They stopped the run game, which forced Daniel Jones to throw the ball. Saquon Barkley only had 53 yards on the ground in 20 rushing attempts. Daniel Jones was sacked 5 times, 17 to 31 passing, a tad over 50%, 176 yards. That's how you beat the Giants. If you force Daniel Jones to throw the ball, they're not going to do too well. Geno Smith's still performing in his very good season. The Packers lose to the Bills 27-17. The Bills continue their run of dominance. The Packers continue the middle. I think maybe as much as I don't like Mike McCarthy as a head coch, Maybe it was Aaron Rodgers calling the plays on the line of scrimmage's fault. AJ Dillon looked banged up as well. The Packers haven't really gotten the rushing game going all that well. Aaron Jones did have a great game, 20 attempts, 143 yards, but it wasn't enough because the defense just could not stop the juggernaut that is the Bills' offense. And then the Browns beat the Bengals on Monday night, beat them up real good. Joe Burrow cannot beat the Browns. He has not done it yet. And that's about it for the weekly roundup. The teams I do want to talk about this week, again, I want to touch on the Buccaneers this year. Why are they much worse than we thought? And it's not Tom Brady. It really isn't. Other than you're missing your 2 starting cornerbacks and a safety. So 3 of your 4 starting defensive backs are out. You're missing Russell Gage. You're missing Akeem Hicks, one of your off-season signings in the interior. The reason they're not doing too hot is because they can't run the ball. As a team, they've only rushed for 495 yards. Derrick Henry rushed for like 40% of that in one game, for reference. They've only rushed for 3 touchdowns. They rank last in rushing. If you can't establish the run, you're not really going to open up Tom Brady's games. Their teams are not loading up the box to stop the run. They have nothing to commit, and that's not a good excuse because they do have a feature back in Leonard Fournette. He's only averaging 3.4 yards an attempt. He only has 2 touchdowns on the ground, 112 attempts, 386 yards. Rachaad White, no better. They're just going to have to play better. Like, you're going to have to establish the run to beat teams, especially in the playoffs. And now they're behind in the division. I think it really does come down to the fact that the injuries I didn't mention is that the line is hurt to hell. You're on your second string center. I know one of the guards is hurt. Snow Jensen, aka the ginger fuck, is out. They can't establish the run. There's no real other way around saying that, and that's going to hurt the Buccaneers. Until they can establish the run, they're going to be kind of this middling average football team. And since they can't, if you can't establish the run, you get quick 3 and outs. The defense is tired. This is an older defensive unit. I'm not saying that like that's hurting the cardio that much, but they're more prone to get banged up, and tired out. So we'll have to see how that goes if they can. Looking at the divisions, the Bills still sit atop the AFC East at 6-1. The Jets are 5-3, tied with the Dolphins also at 5-3, and the Patriots bring up the rear at 4-4. The Dolphins can really be attributed to the absence of 2 of those 3 games. I mean, you played Teddy Bridgewater in 2 of them. You played Skylar Thompson in 1 of them. So, like, yeah, those are all washes. The AFC North, the Ravens sit atop the throne at 5-3. The Bengals are 4-4. The Browns close back 3-5. They're just 3 weeks away from Deshaun Watson. They're just 3 weeks away from salvation. The Steelers bring up the rear at 2-6. The season's a losing season. So again, sorry, Mike Tomlin and Steelers fans. The AFC South, the Titans sit atop this shit division at 5-2. The Colts 3-4-1. The Jags are 2-6. Texans are 1-5-1. Not much to be said other than the Titans should stroll into the playoffs with a home playoff game. I don't think they're getting that first place spot or anything like that. The AFC West, the Chiefs are 5-2. They did have the week off. Chargers are 4-3. Broncos are 3-5. Raiders are 2-5. There is a chance with how hurt to hell the Chargers are that the Broncos can get back in this fight if they could figure out offense. I don't think that because I don't think Nathaniel Hackett is capable of doing that. And the Raiders, I might fire Josh McDaniels after this year. I just might if I was them. That's just me. The Eagles still the lone undefeated team at 7-0. The Cowboys are 6-2. The Giants are 6-2. And the Commanders are 4-4. Very interesting division heading into the rest of the year. The Commanders are on a 3-game winning streak. See if they can keep that up. We'll see if the Giants are a flash in the pan. The Cowboys look legitimately good too. So that should be real interesting. The NFC North, the Vikings sit atop 6-1. The Packers and Bears both far behind at 3-5. And the Lions bring up the rear at 1-6. For the Packers, this is an absolute failure. For the Bears, this is somehow much better than I thought it was going to be. And for the Lions, I thought y'all were going to be last. I really thought the Bears were going to be last. So, fuck. Again, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. Salute to y'all. Have fun. The NFC South, probably the most surprising, or the most surprising division. They're 4-4. They lead the division. The Buccaneers and Saints are 3-5, and the Panthers are 2-6. It's still anyone's fucking game for the NFC South. I don't think you would have told about halfway through the season, if you put a mic to everyone in Atlanta's face, that they'd be sitting top of the division at this point in the year. They would have all laughed at you. So good for them. I thought it was a tankathon season for them. If they make the playoffs, that'd be fucking hilarious. If they win a playoff game, that'd be one of the funniest. Marcus Mariota's, they would have figured out their quarterback problem. Yeah, I'll look more into Marcus Mariota's stats after this. For the NFC West, the Seahawks sit atop it. That's the other surprising one. 5-3. The Niners are 4-4. The Rams are below 500 by 1 game, and the Cardinals are below 500 by 2. It's still anyone's division. It can go either way. The Seahawks defense is still ass. Their offense is great. Their defense is still ass. I think the Niners getting McCaffrey, if they get some dudes healthy at the right time, they'll be back up. The Rams are in the same predicament as the and with Cooper Kupp going to be coming in the next week banged up. They're kind of in a weird predicament where they also can't run the ball like the Buccaneers. And Matthew Stafford's just kind of gunslinging it. Yeah, they're 31st in the league. Their rush defense is much better than the Buccaneers, but they're 31st in the league. They've only rushed 479 yards, and the fact that Matthew Stafford likes throwing to one particular Caucasian man. I don't know why I said it like that, but I did. If you look at the receiving yards, Cooper Kupp has 686. Tyler Higbee has 212. Ben Skoranek has 231, and fourth is Allen Robinson at 224. Cooper Kupp has 30 more targets than second place on the team, which is Tyler Higbee. Allen Robinson only has 36 targets on the year. And if you look at the rushing attack, it's not much better either, because Darrell Henderson leads it, and he only has 197 yards in 7 games and 50 attempts. He's averaging almost 4 yards a carry, which is much better than Leonard Fournette, but Cam Akers isn't doing it this year. I think, again, you can look at the line. Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson not really coming back from their injuries at 100%. And then if we look at the passing, Matthew Stafford, he's thrown for 8 interceptions, only 7 touchdowns. He's always been a gunslinger, but this is an especially bad year. I think he is playing hurt, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, we're going to have to see how the rest of the year pans out for them. But they're in the same boat as the Buccaneers. They're going to have to run the ball. And if they can't run the ball, you can't really do shit in the National Football League, in my opinion. The Falcons' defense, it's ass. But their offense is pretty good, especially their rushing offense. Again, right when Cordell Patterson got hurt, the Tyler Algier, they stepped right up. Marcus Mariota is not having a bad year at all. 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 63% of his passes, basically 1,400 yards. He's having a good year. Now on the ground, Tyler Algier in this, he still hasn't really caught up to Cordell Patterson. You see that really hot first game. But he has 324 yards. Marcus Mariota's added 280 yards on the ground. Caleb Huntley's added 265 on the ground. The rookie out of BYU is looking like the future at that spot for the Falcons. And in the receiving game, Drake London leads the team, 346. Olamide Zaccheaus has come out as a true number 2 option at receiver. If they just throw to Kyle Pitts more, they'd probably be much better, but they refuse, so they won't. They just won't. If we look at the sack list, again, their defense isn't great. Grady Jarrett's still doing Grady Jarrett shit. He's still goated. We all like Grady Jarrett. And of the guys I know we did talk about when Ethan was here, we did talk about Trey Anderson, just keeping an eye on him. He's out of Montana State. He's having a good year. He's finally getting on the field a bit more. He didn't play much against Carolina, but in his one game, he's getting a lot of tackles. He's looking like that kind of monstrous, rangy, off-the-ball linebacker that they wanted. Just looking at his picture, looks like a goddamn meathead. But on to next week's games after talking a little breakdown of those. Trade deadline still has 9 minutes left. I kind of hope the Bears move David Montgomery. That would be very nice. The Thursday night game, Eagles-Texans. If the Texans give the Eagles the first loss, good for you, Davis Mills. You deserve to keep your job. Other than that, Eagles are winning. Chargers-Falcons. In Atlanta, I'm going to have to give it to the Falcons. I think the Chargers are still a bit too beat up on defense to really do much against the Falcons' attack. The Falcons better hope AJ Terrell is back. I have no idea when if he's back next week or not. So yeah, I don't think he's gonna be back. It's a hamstring injury. So even if he is back, he's not gonna be 100% next week. So that's gonna help the Chargers receiving game. But I'm still gonna give it to the Falcons. Bears Dolphins. As much as I want the Bears to win in Soldier Field. Oh, poor Kyler Gordon's gonna get fucking cooked. We can't hide him. Oh my God, it's Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Yeah, Dolphins are gonna win. I hope the Bears offense has fun out there. Panthers, Bengals, Packers, Lions. I think the Packers will get back on track and win this game. I also think Dan Campbell's probably gonna get fired as much as I like him. He might be offensive coordinator somewhere though, so that's good. His offense did look good. You just give him a little more talent. The Raiders and Jaguars. I think the Jaguars can win this game. Colts, Patriots, Bills, Jets, Bills, even in MetLife. Vikings, Commanders. I'm gonna go Vikings. I don't think the Commanders will pull off the damn near NFC North Division sweep. Seahawks, Cardinals. I'm gonna go Seahawks. Rams, Buccaneers. Now, which team that can't? The Rams' rush defense is much better, so I'm gonna give it to the Rams because they'll simply run the ball better. Titans, Chiefs. I don't know much about the Chiefs' run defense, but I do know the Titans' pass defense isn't that great. So I go Chiefs on Sunday night. And Monday night game, Ravens, Saints. I will go Ravens. With the addition of Roquan Smith and how not so good the Saints are, I believe that they will pull off the win. At the trade deadline, having 7 more minutes. Please, God, nothing else has happened. Please, fucking hell, nothing else has happened. Right? I'm just checking my phone. Yeah, because Jerry Jeudy's also there. I also forgot to mention Jeff Wilson is back with Mike McDaniels for a 5th-round pick to the Dolphins. Logic's putting up numbers out there. That is pretty much all I wanted to talk about. We can go over... My MVP still is Josh Allen for the year, by the way. Joe Burrow does lead the league in passing yards at the moment, but that's because at 2,329. Mahomes still leads the lead in passing touchdowns. Justin Fields is still the most sacked quarterback. Matt Ryan is still somehow throwing the most picks, but Kenny Pickett's catching up at a haste. Quick thoughts on Kenny Pickett. He's young. He is a fucking gunslinger. He does not give a shit. In his first year, he's kind of been thrown into a shit situation. 2 touchdowns and 8 picks is kind of inexcusable. But he just doesn't give a fuck. And you got to respect that. But if he doesn't take care of the ball better, he'll be out the league as quickly as he entered it. Nick Chubb still leads the lead in rushing yards, 841. Saquon's still second. Derrick Henry in his big game is third. Derrick Henry, for a second I was scared because he looked like he was kind of washed. Like, the injuries and the toll is beat up on him. But 7 TDs, 755 yards, 4.5 yards per attempt this year. A couple 2 TD games. Yeah, he's bad. We're good. We're good. We're fine. Start receiving yards. Tyreek Hill at 961. Stephon Diggs 2. Stephon Diggs didn't play last week. Stephon Diggs and Travis Kelce are still tied for receiving touchdowns at 7. Jamar Chase is out for the Bengals for a couple weeks. And we'll see how that goes. And then on to the next one, which will be the sack leader, because that's the only one I care about, and the interception leader. Matt Judon with the Patriots, 8.5, and Zadarius Smith with the Vikings. Vikings have put together a quietly good defense. Nick Bosa is playing out of his mind. Michael Parsons is playing out of his mind. Myles Garrett's playing out of his mind. They're all playing really well. Really good football. And then Von Bell, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Eddie Jackson, Jordan Parent-Trigal, and all have 4 interceptions. Trayvon Diggs is not leading interceptions. He only has 3. But he's one behind with Minkah Fitzpatrick, Big Game Slay, Marcus Williams, Harrison Smith. Minkah Fitzpatrick, your usual suspects. Jordan Poyer's come out as a real good piece. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, another one. These are all These are almost all Pro Bowlers I'm looking at the top of that list. Eddie Jackson is probably the best name on there, not only me as a Bears fan, but coming from the point where he didn't really, it looked kind of like he signed that extension. He stopped tackling people. He wasn't the ball hawk he used to be. I think he'll be a valuable piece in the future now that he has that more box safety who can also cover really well. I'm not taking away from Jaquan Brisker's coverage skills next to him. I think once we get a good pass rush going, the Bears will be pretty solid at all positions. But that is all I have today. There's three more minutes left. Please, God, doesn't happen. I don't need this. No one else can get traded, right? You know what? I'm going to end it 3 minutes before. If someone gets traded, y'all going to get it short. I am going to get a little short about Steve Nash being fired and then Ime Udoka maybe ending up there. But that is all I have for the NFL Week 8 Roundup and Trade Deadline Special, I guess this became. It's been PJ Milionis of the Poverty Franchise Podcast signing off. Have a good rest of your day.